Qin Xiangong was hit by a wolf poison arrow and returned to Yayang city alone, and then hid his two sons. No one knows the specific situation of Qin Xiangong, let alone communicate with the two sons in advance. When the old scholars learned the news, as the representative of the vested interests of the Qin state, Lao Ganlong, at the court meeting in Qin Xiangong, they were crazy to try, and the old scholars wanted to set up a monarch who dared to fight and had few eyes. Qin Xiangong knew very well that he had fought repeatedly, and the national treasury had already been emptied by himself. He had already thought about changing the national policy. Both of them did not express their positions directly and left hastily. Qin Xiangong learned about the thoughts of the old aristocrats, but he didn't know the thoughts of the old soldiers. The soldiers braved the snow and came to the Amei camp. Qin Xiangong knew the nature of the old soldiers very well. They would not talk about business first, but would ask for a drink. Fill up a bowl of wine first, let's drink and talk later. A dumb person listened eagerly. If unable to speak, then I'll use gestures. The actions were fierce like a tiger, directly making Qin Xiangong look like an idiot. The old soldier next to him quickly translated. He only said, this is the newly appointed Qinsong prefect, skilled in military affairs. The newly appointed Qinsong prefect is precisely the second son of Qin Xiangong, who will win over Liang's future, the great-grandfather of Qin Shaogong and the grandfather of Qin Shihuang's great-grandfather. It turns out that everything is the deliberate arrangement of Qin Xiangong. The strategy of withdrawing troops after a big victory is to dismiss and win the Liang army's power and rush to Qinsong. This game of dark chess contains three types of tests. The first is to test the ability of winning and governing the country. The second is to verify the policy of cultivating and replenishing and using war to sustain war, which is more supported by the old soldiers. The third is to test whether the most trusted brother supports the person or the policy. Do not underestimate the third point, as this is the truly heart-wrenching aspect. Policies are issued by people. In ancient times, the importance of supporting individuals within the family was far greater than supporting policies. This is also the reason why ancient emperors placed loyalty in the first place. Duke Xian of Qin heard his elder brother's words and already had the answer in his heart, repeatedly waving his hand. This is the sincere loyalty of his elder brothers, let's have a toast. With the warmth of wine, true feelings are revealed. Everyone reminisces together, recalling the bloody history of the ancestral temple of the 30,000 old clans, the loyalty of the Qin dynasty, and the determination to fight until the last drop of blood. Following Qin Xianguan, it has been 23 years. One generation after another buried their bones in the yellow sand. Now, only a few thousand elderly people remain. These words deeply hurt Qin Xianguan. Elder brothers fought their whole lives, but their greed still consumes them. Alas, the military leaders are incompetent. Yes, they fought their whole lives, and though they upheld the spirit of the Qin people, the country became poorer with each battle. The number of young and strong men decreased, and now we are facing a critical moment for the survival of our nation. The strategy of sustaining war with war has failed. It is time for a change. Seeing Qin Xianguan's sincere emotions, everyone expressed their willingness to have a drink together. The king will have a drink with us old soldiers. The king will work together to resolve the conflict. General Qin Xian thought of us as brothers in life and death. Today, if we meet again, it will be on the road to the underworld. In the future, my son will still rely on everyone's care. This statement will be more comfortable in a few days. At that moment, he waved his hand and said, bring the wine. Qin Xian paid no attention to his daughter Yingyu's dissuasion. Yingyu rushed forward and snatched the wine cup, biting her lip and letting a few drops of blood fall into the wine. Qin Xian had a sudden inspiration when he saw this. Old brothers, this bowl of wine is the inexhaustible heroic blood of the descendants of Lao Qin, and the old man will first have a bowl with the old brothers who hate the underground. This sentence is for the old Qin people, and the second is for the descendants of the old Qin people. Their daughters are not as bloody as men, and you can't be cowardly in the future. After pouring the cold blood wine, Qin Xiangong filled a bowl again, held it high above his head and drank it with everyone. Qin Xiangong knew that the iron should be struck while it was hot, so he hurriedly asked people to sneak out of irrelevant personnel. He wanted to talk to these old Qin soldiers about some private words. Yingyu, who had always secretly hated his daughter's body, was immersed in the blood of the old Qin people, and was stunned and was driven away by Qin Xiangong. Qin Xiangong and the others sat together and went straight to the point, asking which of his two sons looked more secure and reassuring. The people understood Qin Xiangong's intention and responded simply. The old man's thoughts made people uneasy, and for a while, everyone looked at each other in a strange atmosphere mixed with snowflakes. Lao Jun slightly used his wisdom to bring out intimate words, not too easily. When the old aristocrats learned that Qin Xiangong had left the capital, they gathered at Shangdaifu Lao Ganlong's house. In their eyes, Qin Xiangong, who was shot by a poisoned arrow, was already a dead man. At present, the heir of the monarch has not yet been clarified, and every time the artifact of the country is handed over, it will definitely affect the interests of half of the Qin people, and he asked Lao Ganlong to take the lead in taking the idea, and Lao Ganlong saw that these guys did not dare to force Qin Xiangong of the palace, so as to coerce himself to be angry directly. Lao Ganlong's student Du Ji relied on the deep love between master and apprentice, and never understood the meaning of the teacher's words, so he hurriedly instigated the words when he opened his mouth. Not that everyone wanted to discuss major politics privately, but only blamed Qin Xian for his bad life, wolf poison arrows and outsiders looking for him. The plan of the old noble clan must be prepared early. The hand that trusts the monarch cannot reach into our pockets. Du Xi's words successfully hit the nerves of the old noble clan. Each of them excitedly mentioned the chaos of the previous 4 dynasties. The blood of the old noble clan almost dried up and Du Xi was delighted to see this. After speaking, he set his sights on Changshi, the second most important figure of the old noble clan. Changshi ignored the passionate gazes of the crowd, but he was actually worried. He couldn't understand the reason why Lao Ganlong didn't express his position, and he could only make a fuss to make himself stand out. One careless move and he would have to pay the price later. He quickly claimed that he was just bored and came to watch the show. Lao Ganlong saw that there was someone who understood. Changshi speaks and acts cautiously, displaying the demeanor of a minister. As soon as this remark came out, everyone thought that the old Ganlong people were old and timid, and they all said that we had done this before, how could we drop the chain at a critical moment, and the old Ganlong knew that these guys were bloody, and they didn't understand their hard work, so they were so presumptuous that they began to teach themselves to do things, and roared. What kind of character is Lao Ganlong? He followed Qin Xiangong to implement the new policy early in the morning. Many policies were proposed by himself, and he witnessed Qin Xiangong's means for decades. This is a ruthless boss who turned his hands into clouds and covered his hands for rain. He was helpless and secretive, stunned and blue, and did not understand the way, and waited for everyone to leave to find Lao Ganlong alone, puzzled why the teacher did not express his position and was furious in public. Lao Ganlong didn't explain, his stomach was strong and he came directly to a sieve to shake the flour, and showed his mind to the fullest, and he also thought that the eldest son won money and was brave and strong, and his character was generous and won the support of the old world, and he was extremely belligerent and must adhere to the strategy of fighting to feed the war, and the most important thing is to be obedient and foolish, and it is different for the second son to win the grain. The interests of the old world cannot be guaranteed. He and the Meng, Shi, and Bai clans passed a contract, and unanimously agreed to welcome the money to the throne, and now there is a lack of a leader to make decisions, and Lao Ganlong is the best candidate. Old Ganlong thought of Qin Xiangong, who had disappeared without a trace, and he didn't know what kind of moth he was doing in secret. Although the interests of the old world were important, they were far less important than his own life, so he threw out a cliché. After saying that, he drove Duke Xiao away with his white hands. Why didn't Lao Ganlong want to be the leader? He was on both sides of the money, and he was grateful for his help, and he would definitely be able to go one step further. The old world will also obey his words, but he didn't get the slightest bit of usefulness in his first temptation. He knew that Qin Xiangong would continue to test himself, and it was most beneficial to explain that he would act when he saw the opportunity. The 2 old foxes of the Qin state finally met again, how the Qin Xian guild would try, and how the old Ganlong would take over. We will talk about this in the next issue. Friends who like it are welcome to like, comment and forward.